I just had one of the hardest serving shifts of my life, and I picked up some sodium laden Chinese food because I don't care what anyone says. Like, fast food Chinese hits so different after like a good 8 hour shift at the restaurant. You know what I'm saying? When you work like a double and you clopen, oh, and if those words mean nothing to you, that's totally fine. What does my fortune say? Let's find out together, folks, shall we? A change of heart will bring back what is lost. And you know what I've lost today, people? My sanity. So today was a little rough. Nothing like a little aspartame instead of actual hydration. I don't really talk about the fact that I'm a waitress very often just because it's not really a part of my identity, nor is it a very inspirational part of my life. But it's just something I do to, pay the bills and stuff. But it is a very big part of my life because I'm at the restaurant, 40 hours a week at least. So it's become a very big part of my life. I only started waitressing about 2 years ago, almost 3 years ago now. I must have applied to like 50 jobs, and this job and one other job was the only places that were hiring in like a 50-mile radius. So I took it, and it was quite possibly one of the best decisions I've ever had in my life, but it also eats away at my sanity very, very rapidly. So I want to start off by saying that behind every server, every waitress is a very complex individual. I don't want to say like serving is a very difficult thing to do. It's really not. You're taking orders, you have to memorize things, you got to bring food to people, and you have to be emotionally intelligent. It's not really that difficult of a job in and of itself, but it is physically and emotionally demanding at times. And I started out as someone who had very bad social anxiety when I first started this job. And I actually took the job as a waitress because I wanted to get over that, because I'm like, you know what? It's a little cringy to have social anxiety. I don't actually think it's cringy, but it was just like, I'm like, really, Bailey, you're afraid of having a conversation with a person? How lame are you? I talked very badly about myself just for having social anxiety. And I was like, the way that you get over a fear is with exposure. So I'm like, why don't I just expose myself to people in the depths of their hunger? That sounds like a great decision. But I started this job. One, is a way to pay the bills. Two, just because I needed a job at the time because I had retired from being a ballerina and I just needed a way to get money. And three, to get over my social anxiety and to help build up my social skills. Because when you're a very like hyper-focused ballerina for like 9 years of your life, you lose the ability to socialize with people. I had no idea how to socialize with people because I had been in my little ballet bubble for 9 whole years, hyper-focusing on a career. So of course, I'm gonna lose the ability to talk to people. And you should have seen my first couple of days of waitressing. Like, I was a mess. I was an absolute mess. I've slowly gained up my waitressing skills, slowly built up my small talk, slowly learned how to hand the check to the baby and say, "Are you paying for this, young man?" Even though they're like 2 years old, doing the dad jokes and all that kind of stuff, trying to entertain, trying to finesse, if you shall. But another thing I've learned about waitressing is that you also have to have an insane amount of emotional intelligence, which has not only helped me in the job itself, but has also helped me outside of the job. Because with being a waitress, you have to very quickly understand where people are coming from. Because one, when you walk through those doors, you have to understand that you're literally, your customers are hangry. Just everyone in that restaurant is hangry. Everyone is going to be behaving a little bit off their rocker, and everyone's going to be behaving a little bit out of the ordinary simply because they're hungry. You want to know how I behave when I'm hungry? I'm like a rabid little animal that's gonna gnaw at your leg. I'm gonna be angry. It's gonna happen. I'm sorry. It's taught me that before you can be reactive, you first must be understanding. Because when someone's yelling at you, or someone's angry because there isn't enough sauce on their food, or they're angry because it took too long to come out, or they're angry because they don't like the way it tastes, or it's not hot enough, or whatever the issue is. If you're a server, you understand what I'm talking about, because the amount of things that people will complain about or find a problem with or be upset about is astounding. But then again, they are hungry, so you can't really blame them too much. You cannot be reactive when you are in a restaurant. You cannot be reactive when you are a server. You have to first come from a place of understanding and empathy to try and understand why the person is feeling this way and what you can do to help. Conflict management. And then secondly, you must muster up an ungodly amount of patience, because there is no way in hell I actually want to bring you another napkin after I've already brought you 7 napkins. There's no way I want to do that, but I'm going to do it. But I feel with serving, I've learned that behind everything is just someone who is hungry. Behind every ounce of anger, every ounce of disrespect, every ounce of reactivity is just a hungry person. And what I mean by a hungry person is just a human being that wants to be understood, that wants to be loved, that wants to be cared for. And behind all perceptions of man, only love exists. That's a quote I learned maybe a bit too early in life, because it kind of fucked with my head for a little bit, because I'm like, no, behind all perception of man is just, atoms, is just empty space. But it really is true. Each and every one of us, all we want in this life is just to be loved. Deep down, all we want is just to connect, is to be held, is to be seen, is to be heard, is to be loved. And so every time that someone yells at me because they didn't get their napkins fast enough, or every time someone yells at me because they didn't like their food, or any time someone yells at me because there wasn't enough liquor in their drink, I could turn to reactivity. I could get mad and say, no, the food's great. I got you your napkins in a timely manner. You're just impatient. I could. But behind that person that's yelling at me about things that don't actually matter is just someone who's very, very deeply upset. Not about the napkins taking too long, not about the liquor, not about anything. It's just someone who really deep down just needs a fucking hug. And what good is it gonna be if I yell back at them? And I'm not just talking about my job. I'm not just talking about losing my job if I am to turn reactive and yell at them. I'm talking about what good does it do anyone when we yell at someone who is clearly hurting? Because healed people, people who have love in their heart, don't yell at servers. Any Karen I've ever ran into who was yelling about things that don't actually make sense has a bitter, bitter heart. It's not my job to walk around this earth and heal everyone who has a bitter, bitter heart, but I'm saying to yell back at a bitter heart is counterintuitive. If someone is kind to me, I'll give them love. If someone's mean to me, I'll still give them love. Because I think it's the mean ones that deserve more love. And I'm not saying that you have to constantly be giving love into a person that hurts you, but I'm saying behind every person is just someone that wants to be loved. And what good is it to yell at someone who wants to be loved? What good and what point is it to turn reactive at someone who deserves and needs love? Same with yourself. Same with a relationship with yourself. If you are angry and sad and bitter and lonely and you hate yourself, what good is that? Like, what good is hating yourself? What is that doing? Who is that benefiting? It's like yelling at a Karen. Like, the worst thing that's going to happen there is it's just going to turn more and more and more and more reactive. I don't know. I think the biggest lesson that I've learned is everyone deserves love. Even yourself. Especially yourself, especially when you mess up. Especially after the long, hard days where you think you're going to pass out because you haven't had a glass of water in 4 hours. Especially during the days where you can visibly start to hear your heartbeat because of how stressed you feel. Especially during the days when you come home and you know you shouldn't, but you get sodium-laden Chinese food just because you've had a really long day, and you try to put a positive spin on it because if you don't, you're going to cry. And you have to go back in less than 12 hours. Exactly 12 hours. You have to go back in exactly 12 hours. Does anyone actually eat the fortune cookies? I feel like we all just crack these open and then we just never eat them. I don't think I've ever actually eaten a fortune cookie. Well, there's no time like the present. It's not good. That's not good.